Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of Ripping the Fence, I'm going to be breaking down everything we saw from Kansas Speedway. But before we hop into the videos, I want to quickly remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys did that. But let's go ahead and hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me as always. And sorry I couldn't change out of my Chase Elliott gear because based off of that finish we just watched, the race ended right at 10 o'clock. That's usually when we record these videos, so I wasn't able to change out of it. So sorry to anybody who doesn't like Chase Elliott. I promise next video I'll look a little bit more professional. But anyways, Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me on the show. And before we get started with what we saw, um, unbelievable race today at Kansas. 2 videos ago, I teased you guys that something was coming, and it finally did end up coming in the mail. So let me grab it real quick. It's not on the wall. It was hanging up over there. But I did make a really cool purchase. I got myself a Chase Elliott Napa Fender. This is the one he won with at Texas. It's got the confetti right there on it too. Really cool piece. So happy I picked that up. My first ever piece of sheet metal. Matthew has one too. He has a Kyle Busch one. So really cool that I got that. Super happy about that purchase. It's going to hang up right over there on the wall. But yeah, now that we got that out of the way, Matthew, how you doing? How you feeling? Have you ever seen anything like that? The energy's running high for both of us right now. That was a heck of a finish. But Matthew, how you doing before we go ahead and hop into things?
Oh, I'm doing just great. Man, I didn't think any race this year could be head-to-head or top Atlanta, but I think we just upped that up a notch here after what we just saw. Wow, we got a lot to discuss about. So yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, so I'm gonna keep our reaction for the finish. Well, I don't know, Matthew. Do you want to start with talking about the finish first, or should we talk about the other part of the race first and kind of build up to the last few little bit there? What do you think we should do?
We can talk about what happened before that at least.
All right, we'll save the finish for later in the video. But starting things off, both of us did watch the F1 race today. So congrats to Lando Norris on getting his first career win there. That was really cool to see. I'm slowly trying to get
Yeah,
more into F1. So
the race wasn't actually that bad, I would say. Um, I thought for F1 standards, it was way better than all the other F1 races that I've seen so far this year. But yeah, you see, it could be more interesting if there was more competition. And well, we got someone else different in victory lane today, and that was McLaren and Lando Norris. So happy to see that. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
yeah, I'm trying to watch a little bit more F1. Still trying to find a favorite driver, but Lando might be slowly climbing the ranks on my favorite driver list. I haven't officially picked one yet, but he is pretty cool. Love seeing him get his first career win. But as for the NASCAR race, that was actually perfect timing because the NASCAR race got delayed today because of weather in the area. So right after the F1 race finished, the NASCAR broadcast was starting back up, and they were doing driver introductions and all that kind of stuff. So the race started a few hours late. Fantastic racing all day long. But in stage one, it was a battle between Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson. They were slicing and dicing each other, crossing each other over, going back and forth for the lead all throughout stage one. But Denny Hamlin actually ended up catching and passing both of them, and he would win the first stage. But on that pit stop, he actually uh, lost a few spots because he had to avoid a pit crew member. So he had to obviously slow down. So he lost a few spots there. And on that restart for stage two, the start of stage two, we saw 5 wide at the start finish line. Chris Buescher threads the needle right through all of them and gains like 4 spots in one move at the start finish line. That was an incredible move right there. Um, in stage two, Kyle Larson, he had a slow stop, and Chris Buescher ended up taking over the lead. And where I don't know where Chris Buescher came from, but man, did he have speed all race long, and he was up at the front for most of the race. Um, but he did have a penalty during one of the cautions. He had a pit crew member over the wall too soon. That was at the end of stage two, so he had to drop back to the rear of the field. And then in stage 3, it was cautions breed cautions for the first like 50 laps in the stage. I think there were 3 or 4 cautions within 25-30 laps. But the first one was for, where was it? Oh, Jimmy Johnson. He got clipped by Corey LaJoie, spun out in turn 1. Corey LaJoie was also involved in the main wreck, and Austin Hill was also involved in the crash there. And basically what happened is Jimmy Johnson checked up going into the corner. Corey LaJoie ran to the back of him, ended up spinning Jimmy Johnson out. And then the caution after that, Christopher Bell got tight, ran up the track, crowded Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin crowded Austin Cindric, who ended up getting into the wall. He overcorrected, bounced off the wall, and involved Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell. They were both able to keep moving, though, and were both up at the front, actually, late in this race. And then there was yet another caution for Harrison Burton. He seems to have just lost control of his car and spun it around. And then under that caution, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace, those drivers pitted under that caution for fuel because it was right on the edge of them being able to make it on fuel or not. So those drivers and a few more pitted, and everybody else stayed out, and Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson were at the front of the field at this point in the race. And then there was a caution on that restart involving Joey Logano. And so those drivers that I just mentioned that pitted, they stayed out. So Todd Gilliland, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and others, they stayed out to gain the track position. Everybody else came down pit road and pitted for fuel. Some drivers took 2 tires. I know Kyle Busch took 2 tires on that pit stop, and several other drivers did. Kyle Larson took 4 tires and dropped back in the field, pretty far back in traffic. So after everything got sorted out under that caution, Gilliland, Hamlin, Haley, Buescher, McDowell, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Corey LaJoie, and Noah Gragson, they were the top 10 as they got set for that restart there. Denny Hamlin ended up taking the lead back from Chris Buescher with 53 laps to go, and Kyle Busch made his way up to 3rd, and Kyle Larson made his way up to 4th. And at this point in the race, it was starting to be a fuel mileage race. Denny Hamlin and Chris Buescher, they were told to start saving fuel with about 25 or 30 laps to go. And as it got around 10-15 laps to go, their crew chiefs were telling them to save pretty aggressively. And Denny Hamlin was almost like half throttle down the straightaway and in the corners at some point trying to save fuel with under 10 laps to go. And Martin Truex Jr., he was not saving fuel, and he was catching Denny Hamlin very quick. He made his way from like 5th or 6th up to 2nd in the matter of just a few laps from other drivers having to save fuel. And right when he was about to catch Denny Hamlin, and this race was going to get interesting, there was a caution with 7 laps to go. Kyle Busch spun off of turn number 2, just lost control of it and spun out, and a caution came out with 7 laps to go. So, of course, that's going to make things interesting. Everyone had to pit for fuel since everybody was really close on fuel. The race off of pit road, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, they were the top 5. They took 2 tires on that restart. And then Martin Truex Jr., who was 2nd at the time, he took 4 tires on that pit stop. He fell all the way back to 10th. And then this is obviously where things get interesting. Overtime on the restart. Denny Hamlin, he chose the bottom. Chris Buescher chose the top. Kyle Larson chose the bottom. Chase Elliott chose the top. Those were the top 4 on the restart. And then on the restart, going into turn 1, Kyle Larson dives under Denny Hamlin, makes it 3 wide, passes him. Buescher still gets ahead of him, though. And then coming to the white flag, Chris Buescher is still in the lead through turns 1 and 2. Kyle Larson tries to get a run. Down the backstretch, Kyle Larson gets a really good run on Chris Buescher. And then in turn 3, Larson goes high. Buescher kind of runs the middle / almost the top. And Larson's able to barely get to the outside of Chris Buescher. And how they didn't touch or how Larson didn't hit the wall, I have no idea. He was so close to the wall. But they come off of turn 4 side by side. They bang once or twice down the straightaway, come into the line, and photo finish. Matthew and I think everybody thought Chris Buescher won it at first. And like Chris Buescher's crew, they started celebrating and everything. And then like 30 seconds later, they're like, oh wait, Kyle Larson actually won the race. and they showed the replay, and oh my goodness, it was so close. 0.001 seconds, the margin of victory, the closest finish in NASCAR history. Matthew, I'm gonna say it. Have you ever?
No, I have never.
My goodness, what a finish! Like I said, I thought Chris Buescher won. Matthew thought everybody thought Chris Buescher won, and then they showed a clip of Cliff Daniels' face when he found out they won, and it was so funny. That's got to be a meme in the future. But oh my goodness, what a finish! Kyle Larson pulls it off, and Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr. They were right there too, in case they ended up wrecking, which I thought they were going to wreck in turns 3 and 4. I thought Buescher was going to slide up into Larson, and they were both going to hit the wall, and then Elliott and Truex were going to go by them and end up fighting for the win. But somehow they all kept it straight. Fantastic finish. Let me quickly go over the top results for you guys real quick. I'll throw them up on the screen. The first four I already mentioned. Denny Hamlin 5th, Christopher Bell 6th. A strong day for the Toyotas all day. They just couldn't close the deal there at the end. Alex Bowman 7th. Kyle Busch comes back to finish 8th somehow. I'm going to have to go back and watch that restart because he literally brought out that caution with 7 laps to go, and I think he restarted 20th or something and somehow finished 8th. So, very good bounce back for Kyle Busch there. And then Noah Gragson 9th. Michael McDowell 10th. Great comeback for him as well, since he was involved in one of those cautions late in the race. But yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about the race itself. I'll talk more about the quality of racing and the passing and all that stuff in my rating of the race. But my goodness, what a finish! The closest finish in NASCAR history. Matthew, what do you have to say about everything you saw from the race today in Kansas?
Man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I mean, I was really, really hoping that Chris Buescher won that race. Considering how Ford has struggled all season long, of course, Chris Buescher from Prosper, Texas, who population 30,000. I literally thought he won this race. I literally thought he did, but of course, they showed the angle. They showed all the data and all that, which I'm glad NASCAR did. And but yeah, Larson got edged him out there by that much. So I definitely feel bad for Chris Buescher, but still, congrats to Kyle Larson, his second win of the season. Definitely had arguably the best car today, and just overall, what a fantastic race today! What an amazing race it was. So much passing. There was, especially the beginning of this race. Larson and Ross Chastain couldn't stop switching the lead. The battle for that lead was just amazing to watch. Um, yeah, this race was just fantastic, and of course, all I heard today was F1 this, F1 that, F1 this, F1 that from all these different media pages and all that. All this talk about F1 all day long, and well, and NASCAR's like, nope, I'm not gonna let you get all the spotlight today. Why not bring out the closest finish in NASCAR history? How about that? And I mean that that was just crazy. Um, but yeah, I'm glad. I feel bad for any of those fans that couldn't stick around because they've missed a fantastic show. I understand it was rain delay. I'm sure some of them couldn't stay too long because they had to go back home. But man, for the fans that did stay there, y'all saw a fantastic show, and I'm very jealous of y'all. If anyone that was there for that race, so yeah, I don't, I, I wouldn't be this short. I don't, it wouldn't be this short during my analysis here, but all I can talk about is that finish. That's all I could talk about. Just crazy. So, yeah, what a fantastic race it was. Congrats to Kyle Larson. Um, there's some noticeable finishers. I can't believe Kyle Busch finished eighth. I don't know where in the world he come from. I don't know if the crew just secretly put a tank in there, and they just held that thing wide open the whole 2 laps. But I mean, it was a bad situation, but so I'm glad it's still top 10 regardless. Noah Gregson, his third straight top 10. Amazing job for him. He was in the top 10 most of the day, while his teammates were literally 30th, 31st, 32nd the most of the race. Um, so I guess Noah Gregson has taken Kevin Harvick's job as the driver carrying SHR this season. Michael McDowell, top 10, great run for him. But yeah, fantastic race. Congrats to Larson, and we're gonna be talking about this finish for a long time. And we're not even done with the first half of the season. Imagine we get more of these finishes. Just imagine it. And I'm telling you what, I really hope we can build some more mile and half tracks like Kansas at other cities that we haven't touched, like Denver, Salt Lake City. How about we just start making Kansas clones here? I think that's what we need to start doing, because these races have not disappointed at all there. And I mean, Jimmy are trying to plan out which races we're going to next year and all. We might have to put Kansas on the. We might have to put Kansas on the top of the list here, because these races do not disappoint there. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, Kansas has definitely made a case to work its way further up in our list of races to go to. Um, but yeah, NASCAR, they heard all the F1 talk and they said, hold my beer, watch this. And they decided to put on the closest finish in NASCAR history, so that was pretty crazy. But yeah, just a fantastic day in racing in general. I'm gonna have to say you're gonna have to be looking out for Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson these next few weeks. And just like last week at Dover, Kansas is a great track for both of them. Darlington next week, the track we're gonna be going to. The two of them are probably gonna be the two cars to beat there. The All Star race at North Wilkesboro, Larson won that last year, and now obviously Charlotte, the Coke 600. So a lot of good tracks for these two guys coming up. Um, Honestly, it was kind of nice to see Larson finally get one because it felt like Danny Hamlin has kind of been dominating the past few weeks, and then Kyle Larson brings that HMS and Joe Gibbs rivalry right back to fruition. So it's just those two teams, they've won every race except Atlanta, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different over the next few weeks here. So um, definitely got a battle on our hands, a rivalry. It's gonna be interesting to see how it if it lasts throughout the whole season. If one of these guys is gonna fall off, or if they're both gonna stay on the top of their game. Heck, it could be like 2020 with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton going head to head all season long. Who knows? That'd be pretty cool, honestly.
2021.
2021. Sorry, I'm not an F1 expert, as you guys can tell. Um, but yeah, let's quickly rate the race real quick and do our paint scheme as well. And I'm pretty sure I gave Atlanta like a 9 or a 9.5. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I gave it a 10 out of 10. So, golly day, I think for this I have to make it a 10. I have to make this one a 10 out of 10. The racing all day was phenomenal from stage one all the way to the end of the race, especially for the lead. Like I said earlier, Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain were battling back and forth all day. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin were battling back and forth all day. Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain were going back and forth. Chris Buescher threw himself in the mix too. He was slicing and dicing it with Denny Hamlin late in the race. And then I mean, if we didn't have that caution, it was going to be a great finish anyway because it was fuel strategy. Martin Truex Jr. was really pushing, and would Denny Hamlin have run out of fuel? Would Martin Truex Jr. have won the race? There were storylines all throughout this race. And then to cap it off with a late race restart and the closest finish in NASCAR history, gotta give it a 10 out of 10. As for my paint scheme of the race, honestly, in my opinion, there wasn't too much of a good selection this week. That's just my opinion. But for me, I'm going to go with Austin Cindric's number 2 Snap On Ford. It's really simple with the black and the gray, but I like how it kind of transitions from the black to the front to the gray at the end. And then I like the red number and the red Snap On logo on the side there. So I'm going to keep it simple this week, especially with Darlington coming up next week. We might have to do a video previewing all those Darlington paint schemes because there's going to be a lot of good ones on there. But anyways, that's going to be my rating and paint scheme of the race. Matthew, how about you? What are you going to rate the race? What was your favorite paint scheme?
Well, I certainly know I gave Atlanta a 10 out of 10. And as for this one, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 too. I mean, just a fantastic race. Side by side racing the whole time. Amazing battles for the lead the whole time. And of course, the closest finish in NASCAR history. 10 out of 10, no question. As for my paint scheme in the race, I'm going to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s Minute Rice car. Look, I'm a big rice guy. I love rice. I love white rice. I love fried rice. I like chicken fried rice. I like rice on with my orange chicken. You can name it. I love rice. And seeing this paint scheme, I mean, it makes me hungry. Looking at the rice on the side of the car, it makes me hungry. So I gotta go with this paint scheme.
All right, and I don't. I really don't know if there was too much off-track stuff this week. I don't think there was. Matthew, was there anything really off-track news related this week we need to touch on?
I don't think so. Other than we're gonna be in Darlington this coming weekend, so be on the lookout for videos. And this is gonna be our first time at Darlington, so this is gonna be a fun experience.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. It's gonna be the first time we're going to a track for the first time together, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Super excited for that. We might try to get a video out with our paint schemes for Darlington, depending on when they all release. But yeah, we're gonna be heading down there Friday. Gonna be getting a lot of good content for you guys throughout the whole weekend. Super excited for all that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's gonna wrap it up for the video. Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts?
I don't think so.
Alright, well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts and comments about that crazy finish down in the comment section down below. But yeah, Darlington's this week. We're going to have a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned for all that content. Until the next time, we see you guys in the next video.